150 years ago, in 1864, Christmas Day fell on a Sunday. The Civil War continued to divide and to grieve the nation. Poet Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, who opposed his son's decision to join the Union forces, had written these familiar words. "And in despair I bowed my head, there is no peace on earth, I said, for hate is strong and mocks the song of peace on earth, goodwill to men." In Los Angeles, Unionist General Phineas Banning and Southern Democrat Benjamin Wilson, both Episcopalians, had given land for the U.S. drum barracks to mitigate any local insurgency. A new missionary priest, Elias Birdsall, then aged 34, had arrived from Evansville, Indiana, deployed by Bishop William Ingram Kipp of San Francisco. That Christmas Day, Mr. Birdsall read morning prayer with 10 people gathered near the old plaza. A few weeks before, the great drought of 1862 had begun to ease. 83 years earlier, in 1781, the first settlers, Los Pobladores, had founded El Pueblo de Nuestra Señora la Reina de Los Ángeles de Porciúncula, the city of Our Lady, Queen of Angels of the river Porciúncula. The name recalls the basilica that continues to shelter St. Francis's Little Portion Chapel in the famed Umbrian town of Assisi, where the Italian countryside and Mediterranean climate are much like those of rural Southern California. By 1864, winemaking was a principal industry of Los Angeles. Benjamin Wilson's Lake Vineyard estate, which spanned 1,300 acres of present-day San Marino, that year produced an impressive 140,000 gallons. A search for timber suitable for cask making sent Don Benito on the first recorded expedition up the peak now known as Mount Wilson, home of the observatory where Edwin Hubble first viewed galaxies beyond the Milky Way. When Bishop Kipp first visited Southern California, he marveled at the lush vines and groves of Wilson's estate, where he returned as a guest several times. In 1851, Benjamin Wilson became the second mayor of Los Angeles after California statehood. He was a charter member of the County Board of Supervisors and a state senator for 2 terms. A mountain man and fur trapper who had been orphaned in Tennessee, Wilson crossed the country seeking passage to China. Instead, he married into California's prominent Yorba family, and he came to own ranch lands that at various times stretched from Riverside west to Beverly Hills. Wilson had an abiding Christian faith. He believed that church services would help tame the wild and dangerous frontier town that was Los Angeles at the time. This prompted him to partner with Presbyterians, Methodists, and Episcopalians to establish a continuing Protestant congregation in the city. Various ministers came and went, but it was Birdsall's Episcopal congregation of St. Athanasius, named for the 4th century bishop of Alexandria, that eventually took hold. In 1865, the congregation occupied its first building, located at Temple and New High Streets, where the present LA City Hall was later built just across Spring Street. Mr. Birdsall put the parish on the map the next April 19, when he delivered the public funeral oration following the assassination of President Abraham Lincoln. The sermon's original call for mutual respect and understanding still rings true in today's politically fragmented contexts. Mr. Birdsall also gained public awareness for the congregation through a lecture series offered the same year on topics of local and international significance, including political issues of Latin America. Fast forward now through major events in the life of the congregation starting in 1872, when Bishop Kipp deeded to the parish 35 acres of downtown real estate. Known as the 35-acre lot, the tract was bordered on the north by present-day 6th Street and on the south by 7th Street, reaching from Figueroa Street west to Lucas Street, where the Good Samaritan Hospital now stands. To honor the bishop, nearby streets were named Kipp, Ingram, and William, which is now Bixel. The year 1872 came early in the economic downturn known as the Long Depression, and lots were gradually divided out and sold, sometimes for as little as $75 each, to sustain the ministry of St. Athanasius Church. Vestry members at the time included Judge H.K.S. O'Melveny, whose son founded the venerable law firm, and William Billy Pridham of Wells Fargo and Company. On Christmas Day, 1883, the parish moved from the small brick church to its newly built Victorian Gothic sanctuary at 523 South Olive Street, across from Central Park, later named Pershing Square. At this time, the parish's name was changed to St. Paul's, and the church was where delegates gathered 12 years later, in 1895, to organize the Diocese of Los Angeles. There they greeted the first bishop of Los Angeles, Joseph Horsfall Johnson, previously rector of Christ Church, Detroit. Bishop Johnson's repeated message to the new diocese was, "Fear not." In 1899, Bishop Johnson designated St. Paul's as the diocese's first pro-cathedral, and in 1896 the bishop assisted members of the original St. Athanasius parish to reclaim that congregation's name and to form a new mission to serve the nearby Temple Beaudry area. The congregants preferred a small church setting and built a new sanctuary on Custer Street. When the gift of land across from Echo Park Lake became available in 1918, the wooden church was cut in half and transported by truck to this new location. This prompted the Los Angeles Times to quip that this was the first time many Angelenos had seen the inside of a church. During these years from 1916 to 1926, St. Athanasius was served by one of its most notable and beloved rectors, Thomas C. Marshall, who went on to direct Good Samaritan Hospital. Earlier, from 1901 to 1908, St. Paul's Pro-Cathedral was served by Dean J.J. Wilkins, who thereafter went on to become secretary of the new $5 million National Fund for Clergy Pensions. Installed then in 1911 was the Pro-Cathedral's historic Murray Harris pipe organ, the ranks of which are heard today in St. James Church on Wilshire Boulevard. By 1913, the diocese included 60 congregations in 8 counties of Southern California, each rising up to meet ministry challenges on new horizons.